207customs.com is your hub for all your HVA-Chicks merch needs. If you guys are looking for a hat, a shirt with the HVA-Chicks logo, a tumbler, HVA-Chicks Radio Show, you name it, it's on 207customs.com. Use code HVAC10 at checkout. If you're looking for quality, high-performance HVAC installation and service, reach out to Abraham Heating and Air. You can go to their website at abrahamheatingandair.com and book an appointment online. They are one of the best companies out there. They fully support HVA-Chicks Coalition and the HVA-Chicks Radio Show, and they are truly the place where quality meets comfort. Cielo Wi-Fi thermostats are the HVA-Chicks choice for all your mini split and conventional split needs. If you're not sure which Wi-Fi thermostat to choose Cielo. Want to kill 99.9% of contagions in commercial and residential spaces without creating ozone? Check out the Air Shield by Revive Air. Thank you, Revive Air, for supporting the HVA-Chicks Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. How y'all doing this evening?
Hello.
So it is me, Jimmy, and John here, and we have a wonderful guest tonight. His name is Mr. John Ellis.
What's up, guys? Hello, audience.
How are you doing tonight, John?
Doing well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So are we. We are inmates of running the asylum tonight with no supervision.
Woohoo! What could possibly go wrong?
Everything. So tonight we're talking about IAQ, and John is Mr. IAQ. So for people that don't know you, John, let's get a little background on you.
Well, thank you. And I'll give you the elevator version because I think we only got an hour. So yeah, I have the wonderful privilege of teaching indoor air quality for Daikin and Manna-Goodman. Been doing that for about 6 years now, all over the United States and Canada. I am most recently started launching out, and instead of companies traveling to go take my class, I am now offering it privately and bringing it right to your company if you need. It's 16 hours, 2 days, in depth. It's building science, building forensics, and indoor air quality from a mechanical point of view. I wrote this just for our industry. Cool thing is, too, I've gotten a lot of crossover. I've got home inspectors, I've got mold remediators, I've got environmentalists taking my class because I am HVAC strong, 43 years in the biz, and they are wanting to learn more and more about that side and the building science part of it. So been kind of cool. I've done some coaching and field training for a company called the New Flat Rate. What that is a built-for-you menu pricing system. We are not a pricing company. We are a software and process development company, and we have pre-built menus, and it's all about a process. And so I've been doing that now for a while, and I get to put on a uniform and go out in the field and run service calls with companies. I absolutely love that. And then in that, with the founder, Rodney Koop, I got to be part of building the very first and only building science and IAQ menu pricing module within the New Flat Rate. We beta tested it, put it out there. Guys are using it and have great success. My company is called Dynamic Air Consulting. And what that is I go out and work with families all over the United States and help create clean, healthy indoor environments, mostly for people that are compromised in one way, shape, or form, meaning respiratory, immunal, oncology. My clients come to me with cystic fibrosis, COPD, lung transplant recipients, valley fever, Lyme's disease. A lot of people don't know Lyme's disease attacks the respiratory, all the way down to seasonal garden variety allergies and asthma as well. What's unique about that is I get to go in the field. I usually work with contractors because I can't be a contractor everywhere, but I bring all my tools and my testing equipment, and we go in and we test out a house. We create a scope of work, and we sit down with the client, spell it all out, and then each company has to price it because I don't know everybody's pricing, for everywhere in the United States and Canada. So that's been well received, very rewarding. I also am a product ambassador for a company called Dust Free, which was recently acquired by Rector Seal, and worked for about 2 years with the engineers and created a best-in-class surgical grade MERS 16 air filtration for residential and light commercial applications. It's for sale at truetechtools.com. We're selling them, and guys are having great results with those. So that's the quick elevator version. But I just want to emphasize that, yeah, I'm known for being the IAQ guy, but I am HVAC strong. I've been using NCI's testing methodology for many, many years, like 18 to be exact. I'm building science strong, and yeah.
That's an impressive resume, because you've been doing it about as long as I've been alive.
It's funny. I tell that to a lot of guys. I'm like, hey, how old are you? And I'm like, wow, I've been doing HVAC longer than you've been alive. But you know what? I learn every single day.
Oh yeah.
You never stop learning. So I don't want to sound arrogant or like I know it all, because I do not, and I am constantly learning.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I taught at night for 16 years, for years, on gas furnaces, we just called them orifices. And when you get into the book, you start looking at things and go, wait a second, that's not an orifice, it's a spud. Your brain thinks differently in the field. We call things differently than what they're actually called. We've always called them an orifice, but it's actually a spud. So yeah, so we, it's some things people don't realize. There's terminology that we have in the field that we've dedicated it for, but it's the proper terminology is what we just kind of lapse by sometimes. So, I have a question for you on dental buildings. So I have a place that does the teeth grinding and makes the implants and dentures and all that stuff. What would be a good solution for something like that?
Okay, so that's a great question. There's a lot going on there, especially if they're removing some of the older fillings, which have been known to have some mercury in them. And so something like that would be, you want basic good hygiene, like a good clean system with good filtration and some ventilation. But when doing something like working on teeth, something portable that uses what's called a gas zorb, and it's a chemical that absorbs different VOCs and different things. I've known a couple of manufacturers that make that. They've got a little attachment, and it's basically like a snorkel. They use those in welding. They use those in wood shops. But it's reticulating, and it's got a little for lack of better terms, like a funnel on it, and it's very localized. And as they're working on that, it can go ahead and take those out of the room. But if you just get back to basics, some good air exchanges per hour, keep the temperature and humidity under control, and some good filtration and ventilation, that would be very friendly for a dental office. This is
unfortunately it was it's not so much a dental office as it is like where they make the dentures and make the molds and everything. Like they take a mold of your mouth and they say they're going to make a retainer for you. One of those offices, and of course all the grinding and stuff like that. And we're in this place every month changing the filter, and it just literally comes out like a white cloud. You just smack it, and this white cloud of dust goes in the air. It's like they're using the system as their filtration.
Yeah,
and they've destroyed it. Like we would go in there, the quill would be impacted every other year. About every other year, we'd have to pull the quill out and physically power wash the quill clean.
Yeah, and again, even like that. So that would be it's in the dental field, but it's not a dentist's office per se. But that's manufacturing, and again, something localized like they use in woodworking or welding that can take all that stuff out and do the heavy lifting and not have your HVAC in there doing that would probably go a long way. I've done, I did a company in California called Flavor Producers, and this place is awesome. You walk in and they make artificial flavors, and you walk in and your smell receptors are going bonkers because it's trying to figure out what it's smelling, but you can't. And in their laboratory, where they were mixing chemicals, and they do like hot cocoa and strawberry and raspberry, anything you can imagine, artificial flavors, But in the laboratory, they had an evacuation system with snorkels to take all that stuff out of the building. It usually takes it to atmosphere. And that way we're not gumming up coils and changing filters, every 3 days.
Yeah, you say that I'm thinking about the smell factor and everything else. We have a place where I was working at. I'm sure you've heard of like Duke's Mayonnaise and Sours brand properties.
Okay.
It's a spice plant here, and you walk in there, and of course you got to put the hair nets on. No hair, but I still got to put a hairnet on, beard net on, and the whole 9 yards. And you got to wear a face mask because the spices that are in the air. And we had to put a system in, and you got your filter rack in the system, but we had to put a secondary filter rack on the outside of it. And those filters were getting stopped up. You'd walk in there, you pull the filter, you could smell the garlic powder, the pepper, the onion powder. You could smell all this stuff on the filter. It smelled like a spice rack. It was insane on how quickly those filters were getting dirty just from the spices in the air going across there. So, and that's the thing. You don't see these things. You can't see these particles, but you know they're in the air because they're getting hit in that filter.
Yeah. And it's funny you should say that because I had a client once that was had their place of business next to a place that did spices, and all those smells were coming into their place of business. And depending on what they were working on, like to your point, garlic or cayenne pepper or whatever, it would go into their space, and their eyes were watering and everything. So they called on me to figure it out. And we had a huge pressure imbalance. So basically what we did, we put a positive pressure apparatus in. Now this was in California, and I just flipped the pressure differences, made theirs positive pressure in relationship to the spice place next door. Smells went away.
Yeah.
Wow.
And making a positive pressure, then what people don't think is, even though you made a positive pressure, you also had to seal off any kind of holes on the exterior walls that might have communicated between the two as well. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you got to be able to keep it from coming in, even though if you make it a positive pressure. So it's just some of the things that I've been exposed to recently, and thinking about it in my head with IAQ. I know when my grandmother moved home, with her health and her everything else, I put a air scrubber in here with the ozone because she was, almost 99 years old when she passed away, but she was here for about 7 years. So we put an air scrubber in here, try to help clean the air, help keep it kind of sanitary for her before I knew all about the proper way of doing IAQ. Never learned the proper way. So we did that.
You're not alone. That's most of our industry.
Yeah. And, after she passed, I realized that was not the proper thing to do. So I ripped it out.
Mm-hmm.
So then COVID hit, of course, and then we all got nailed with the IAQ products on that big time.
Yes.
Well, it was just the big Remy Halo push, or UV
well, it was
push.
And here we are. COVID's in our rearview mirror, and just recently they announced that they're releasing the ASHRAE 185.3 standard, which is going to look at all these devices and take a hard look at what they're doing, what the technology is, and are they doing more harm than good by the byproducts that they're releasing into people's spaces. So you mentioned the air scrubber, and you also mentioned the other guys, and I like to try to just talk about the technology, but you've already said cat's out of the bag. Remy Halo. So that is what we call a PCO. It's photocatalytic oxidation. That's the science behind the device. And so what they do is it uses a UV spectrum that interacts with a catalyst, and that catalyst or the substrate is titanium dioxide. Now, when they interact, they create as one byproduct, hydroxyl radicals. And they are just that. They are radical. Now, ozone is also an oxidizer and is radical, and it's got one extra molecule than oxygen being O2. Ozone is O3, so it's got that extra molecule that is radical. So anyway, so we produce hydroxyl radicals. They're supposed to attach themselves to whatever we're trying to treat, bacteria and viruses and germs and what have you, and then they break them down. There's some question about efficacy. That's a fancy word for how how much they really work, right? So there's question about efficacy. But they also, for every action, there's a reaction, right? Yin and yang. So the byproduct of a PCO would be nitrous acid, formaldehyde, and carbon dioxide. So if you're in a space that already has high levels of carbon dioxide, I think the last thing we want to do is create more carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
And then formaldehyde's a known VOC. There's plenty of tests out there that people will run some sort of IAQ monitor before a PCO and then run it after, and they'll watch their VOCs or TVOCs redline. And that's because we're introducing these byproducts into the space. There are some devices out there that say that, they're doing hydroxyl radicals, but they also make hydrogen peroxide. I'm like, ooh, well, we've all put hydrogen peroxide on a cut and watched it bubble, right? But just do a quick Google search on what happens when you inhale hydrogen peroxide. It ain't good. So I don't know why we would want to introduce these things into a space. So our job is to remove stuff out of the air, not put more stuff into the air. Mm-hmm. And so then let's talk about, let's just, for the sake of this exercise and argument, let's just say one of those devices really was doing some good work, some heavy lifting, right? Let's just say that. And so you put it in a plenum, whatever size your plenum happens to be. So you cut the hole and you put it in, and it goes inside of a plenum. And so the element sticks in. Let's say the element's probably about 12 inches long, and about 3 inches in diameter, or hexagonal, whatever that shape is. And so that's what goes into the airstream. And so if you were to do some math, and we're moving X amount of CFM, whatever the capacity is, if it's 5 × 2,000 CFM at 492 feet per minute across or through that plenum across this little element, we are literally, because the air has to go across that element to get treated, we're literally only treating about 8 to 10% of that air. So that means that we've got 90% of that air that's not going across that element going back into the space, remixing with air that could, I don't want to sound harsh, but recontaminate. And so it's a law of diminishing returns. And so then, you know what, we're only making trace amounts. Well, okay. Low level, long-term exposure to any pollutant is bad news. And so it may not be producing enough to have an immediate reaction, but low level, long-term exposure to any pollutant, being TVOC or whatever that may be, is bad news. It's akin to the putting the frog in a pot of water and slowly bringing it to a boil. The frog doesn't know.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with these types of additives that we're putting in the air. So just by default, the very problems we're trying to solve, we're just creating new problems. And so there's a question of efficacy, and then there's the law of diminishing returns. And so that's with that. And so then the other one that we see a lot is ionization. So it's ionization, needlepoint ionization, bipolar ionization. They call it many different things depending on who the manufacturer is. So that is another one that's putting additives into the space with negative ions. Now, ions happen naturally, right, on Earth, both negative and positive. But we're forcing the issue and creating negative ions to go into the space. And then opposites attract. And so we've got particulates, and we haven't speciated the particulates. So that means we don't know what they are. But the idea is opposites attract, and all these particles come together and clump. And then by default, they get heavy enough to fall to the ground or on any surface, and or big enough to get caught in a filter. There's a lot of peer study out there that have tested these things every which way from Sunday, and it's actually negligible that a filter is capturing more of these particulates because of negative ionization. Now, particulates in among themselves are dangerous enough, and we're not speciating, so they're either organic or they're synthetic. They could be TVOCs, they could be PM2.5 or ultrafine, really small particles, all clumping together. So by default, we're creating superparticles. And so as they get heavy and clump together, they fall to the ground. Anybody who has infants or young children, where do they play?
Down low.
On the ground.
On the ground, right? All their toys are on the ground. Our pets are on the ground. That's where they play. So we're making superparticles of gosh knows what, because we don't know what they are. They're falling to the ground. That's where our kids are. They're inhaling them. And at that age, they're in the developmental stages. Their lungs are developing, their bodies, their immune systems are all developing. And then they're inhaling these particles that are charged, looking for a place to stick. And for many reasons, and I'm not saying that the ionization is the main cause, but it could be a cause. There's not enough studies out there. Early childhood asthma is on the rise. Attention deficit disorder is also kind of been on the rise. And there's a lot of attention being given to that could have a lot of influence from environmental influences, both outside and inside. So if we're going to try to clean something up, the last thing we want to do is put an additive into the air as part of our strategy. And that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
So Danny asked, how did you get into IAQ?
That's a great question, Danny, and I appreciate that. So I mentioned earlier, 43, almost 44 years HVAC. Early on in my career, I got into building science and performance. My vans in California, that's where I had my business, didn't say SoCal Aerodynamics Heating and Air Conditioning. They said SoCal Aerodynamics Performance Contracting. I was an early adapter to that concept. The whole house is a system. Measure. Once I connected with NCI, that was a whole world of stuff just opened up for me. And it's like, wow, we can measure this stuff, put numbers to it. Well, I had some great mentors, and I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Mentors, having a mentor is huge. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for mentors. Also, being mentored. So having a mentor and being mentored is huge. And so that was probably instrumental. A good friend of mine, Scott Johnson, he was an NCI, a BPI. He was a super trainer, a super proctor, and he was writing standards. I was taking classes from him from another organization. I was doing a bunch of NATE stuff. I've taken every NATE class imaginable. And he saw an interest in me. He said, John, go do the NCI. So I did that. He's like, John, I'm doing building science, BPI, come and do that. And he's like, let's go fix some houses. So he took an interest in me, put his arm around me, and taught me some things that you can't learn in a classroom. So I had another mentor, Gene Sperling, who was a respiratory pharmacist by trade, got his degree in pharmacology from the University of Oklahoma. He got out of that and came to me and said, I want to learn building science. I want to learn HVAC. I want to learn all this stuff. And he did, and he started doing environmental audits in the field. And he's like, John, let's go fix houses. And so that was instrumental in me being able to start working with clients that were heavily compromised. And so one of the things that came out of that is because he talks doctor talk, because he's got a PhD, some of the HEPA rules didn't account didn't count because we were working with clients from doctors, but we had a relationship with UCLA Medical Center, USC Medical Center, LA Children's Hospital, several prominent immunologists, oncologists, and allergists in and around the greater Los Angeles area and Beverly Hills, they were literally prescribing our services to their clients. And that was a launch. And then we started fixing houses, and we had great results. And when you're working with somebody with cystic fibrosis or COPD, they are going to succumb to that condition because we don't have a cure for it yet. Now, they've made great strides, and they're being able to prolong people's lives. And so that's some heavy duty IAQ. When they come to you and say, John, we need help. And so you put your best foot forward. You use all the science and testing and everything that's available to you to help create those scopes of work. We actually have people better lung function, overall well-being, going off medications. Doctors were amazed, and they just started giving us more and more. And then when you have somebody that comes to you with a lung transplant and they need to get home, they have to have an environmentally friendly home, because there's a couple things. One, their immune system's just been clobbered, and we want to make sure they don't reject that organ. And then a healthy environment will help that organ grow stronger and be able to function to full capacity. And so when somebody comes to you with that kind of condition, we don't put a smoke and mirror gadget in. We do real in-depth IAQ, and we change. It's not just indoor air quality. We change environments for those clients and patients. So it's really rewarding. One of the things that really launched my career is there was an RFP put out by the South Coast Air Quality Management District to do a pilot study on the effects of high performance filtration in schools in and around LA Harbor, oil refineries, major industry, major freeways. And so I answered the RFP. I was working with a manufacturer back then as well, and I had a really top-notch CIH with me, and certified industrial hygienist. I put out the RFP, I answered it, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I'm wondering, man, I hope I did enough. And then I got the call, and it's like I was awarded the contract. And so it was $1.4 million. And so people often talk about sales, and it's like, oh, I did X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars this year, or I did $1 million this year. And I'm like, that's awesome. I did $1.4 million on one job, and that's sales at a whole different level. It was so high profile that during the vetting process, I had to stand in front of a panel of 4 people, and there's a scientist. He's like got a degree in atmospheric science, and other like administrative people, and I had to talk to them for an hour and answer their questions on why I thought they should put $1.4 million in my bank account and not my competitors. So that's sales at a whole different level, and that's all part of it too. It's not so.
Yeah. So Susie asked, I put it up there for a second here.
Yeah.
What would you do if I got very limited budget for a home with a high humidity, oversized system, no fresh air, and 50-year-old metal duct that's sealed but never been cleaned?
Susie, man, I'm a save the world kind of guy. And if I had my way, man, I'd just come over and do it. But my wallet won't allow that to happen. You got a lot going on. Number 1, it's oversized. Number 2, it's old ductwork, so it's probably very, very leaky. I had a bipolar and lowered the fan. Get rid of the bipolar ionizer. Okay. The whole near Jersey Highway. Yeah. So the dehumidifier is a good thing. Is it enough? You lowered the fan speed. That's a good thing, because the way we address our latent side of the system, the sensible latent, is we lower fan speed to try to hit that sensible heat ratio. We can do more latent work, but a lot of times, depending on where you're at, it's not enough. So a dehumidifier is good. If you've got a really high duct leakage or infiltration in the house, it might struggle to keep up. Also basic air sealing, if that's something you can do. Gaskets around your doors, windows, caulking. If you got can lights and you can seal those up, anything we can do to keep inside in and outside out will go a long way. Again, too, if you've got old metal ducting and it's not insulated very well, we've got a lot of heat gain, and heat gain in the cold and the cooler air coming. We could be hitting dew point within the ductwork. That starts a whole host of other problems. You got a lot going on there, Susie.
And Josh asked this: would you leave your blower on 24/7? If not, why? Aren't you continuously filtering the air?
Great question, Josh. And so that is going to be dependent on where you're at. So what I teach in my class is the why never changes, just the how. What I got away with in California, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, I couldn't get away with in New Orleans, Louisiana, or Alabama, or Georgia, or Florida. I couldn't get away with it. So, your initial question, run the fan 24/7. No. That's a two-sided coin, but we want to do the filtering. So, let your thermostat dictate how long that fan's going to run to satisfy. And then if you've got a decent thermostat and you can set up your ASHRAE 62.2 and or it's got a circulation mode that you can control and have the fan turn on and run for 10, 15 minutes every hour on the hour, but not constantly, because if you are not removing the humidity from the air by way of a refrigeration cycle, all you're doing is moving stuff around, including that humidity. And if we've got any kind of duct leakage and or heat gain into the ductwork, we're just moving that around. A lot of times if we're running cooling, that will kind of neutralize all of that that's going on. So that's a great question, and that comes up a lot. And again, depending on where you're at, I could probably get away with that in California because the climate is kind of nirvana. But depending on where you're at.
Yeah, and here in Richmond, we have the humidity just like John does, but not as bad as John does down in Florida. And I get customers who leave the thermostats on, the fan on all the time. And they call up to saying it's hot. It's just, I got so many. My humidity is so sticky in the house or the building, whatever. And I go out there and I look, and of course, the first thing I look at is the thermostat, is the fan in the on position, and it is. I turn it back to auto. I say, who turned it to on? Well, I did because I wanted the air movement. I said, stop. When you're in air conditioning mode, no fan on. Heat mode, I don't care, because you're a heat pump or gas, you want to circulate the air, fine. But in AC mode, keep the fan in auto position, because you're just pulling that warm air across that wet coil, putting that humidity right back into space and causing problems.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we deal with that a lot in the restaurants. They just leave the fan on and they're like, oh, it's humid. Well, you're just moving the same air.
Yeah, and with medical buildings, restaurants, you have all these fresh air intakes. You got to bring in fresh air into the system. And if you have a fan in the on position, when it's not running, you're bringing that 100% humidity outside, 100-degree day, right into the house. And that is where, I don't know how well you follow this, John, the energy code. Have you looked at the energy code at all?
The energy code where? I was from California, so I had Title 24 that was like cumbersome at best. So which energy code are you referring to?
The International Residential Energy Code for the code books and stuff. Because the energy code, when I was an inspector, the energy code just came out, and you're talking about you having to have the air exchange on the house went from like 2 to like 7 air exchanges. You had to have a 8-inch damper coming in to bring fresh air into the house, because the houses are built too tight now. So you have to exchange the air more. You have to have versus a 20 CFM bath exhaust to 100 CFM bath exhaust. And then people go, like my mom, let's install a Wolf gas fire range and oven and put this huge exhaust hood that's got a 10-inch duct on it, pushing out, 400 CFMs out the thing, and not bring in any air to make up for it. And I'm called her out on it pulled the installation instructions. Boom, there it is. Their contractor didn't know about it. The inspector in Virginia Beach didn't know about it, and they almost put their house into a negative pressure because of it.
Oh, they didn't almost. They did. And so you said a lot there. So let's unpack a little bit of it. So let's go back to the energy codes, and they're minimum codes. And so part of the problem with that is in the pursuit of energy, we're building homes tighter and tighter and tighter, right? And so what does that mean? Well, we're beating the daylights out of the load, so that means our capacities are coming down. So if our capacities are coming down, then that means the fan flow is coming down. Because at 2,000 CFM, maybe you can get 7 air exchanges per hour, but we just beat the daylights out of the load, and now we're at 3 ton. We're going to be lucky if we get 3 or 4. But if we are, they better be the best darn 3 or 4 air exchanges we can possibly have with no duct leakage, right? Minimum ventilation, great humidity, or maybe we're not even going to be able to do humidity. We have to do supplemental. And so there's a problem with that right out of the gate. And we dealt with that in California too. When I was a HERS rater, right? So I went behind everybody and tested all their stuff. So the last time that I checked, it was we had to do duct leakage, right? New construction, no less than no more than 4%. And on a change out, we could do 15%, which I thought was very, very, if you didn't change the ductwork, just swapped equipment, right? And so then we did refrigerant charge. So we'd have to check our superheat and subcooling. Then we had to do fan watt draw, right? Because we're trying to squeeze every bit of energy. Then we had to do a minimum of a MERV 13 filtration. Oops, there went my fan watt draw, right? And then we had to do a minimum ventilation code on ASHRAE 62.2 based on the amount of bedrooms. So usually, like, let's say, I don't have the chart in front of me, but let's just say we got a 1,500 square foot home. There you go. We got a 1,500 square foot home, and we got 3 bedrooms, and so that means that I need to pull in 64 CFM of outside air. That's manageable. Again, the why doesn't change, just how. How do we pull that 64 CFM through the house? Do we just put a duct connected to the return air and call it a day? Well, your energy code might say that that's okay. But depending on where you're at, we're going to load that house with humidity. So now let's do an ERV. Well, an ERV doesn't do a whole lot of dehumidification, but works great in cold weather climates. Minnesota, Michigan, upstate New York, Canada, ERVs work fantastic. So now let's do a dehumidifying ventilator. What you got?
ASHRAE
62.2.
Let's see here. ASHRAE 62.2. This goes to what I got in the book here. It's got energy standards for sites and building experts, low-rise residential buildings, design and classification of refrigerants, methods of testing and determining the air tightness of HVAC equipment, which is ASHRAE 193. ASHRAE Notebook of Fundamentals and ASHRAE Handbook of Fundamentals.
Well, everything goes back to ACA and ASHRAE, so we can all just that's a given. But there is a chart that should give you square feet and bedrooms, and it will tell you. So ASHRAE 62.2 minimum ventilation standards. But
give me a second.
Anyway,
let's see, and 1103. Keep on going. I'm gonna look for it.
So, what are some of the things you think technicians miss when they're looking at IAQ?
Well, a broader understanding on actually what IAQ is and what that means. Every time we've got, here's one of my sayings. I've said it before. Everybody can almost say it with me. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. As soon as they hear, oh, IAQ, hey, what I got a deal at the supply house. I got a bunch of these on my truck. My boss needs to sell them. Every time I sell one, I get $200. I got an answer for you. So not fully understanding the technology, and guys call me all the time. Hey, Johnny, if I install this, is this going to work? I'm like, what are you trying to accomplish? Well, better IAQ. Better IAQ compared to what? And so there's not an understanding of what IAQ. So it's really quite interesting what the official definition of indoor air quality is. It's the comfort. It's the quality of the air as it pertains to the comfort of the building or of the occupants of the building structure. Nowhere in the official definition does it say anything about the health and well-being. I don't know if they think that's just a given. And so here's something that BPI used to say, and it used to drive me bonkers. They used to say an energy efficient house is automatically a healthier home. I'm like, dude, that is dangerous. There's nothing further from the truth. And so there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of rule of thumbs, having a broader understanding on what indoor, and so it's not just indoor air quality, it's IAQ / environmental, or IAE, right? Indoor air environmental, because we're changing environments by what we can do. So that's one of the biggest things. Again, not understanding the technologies, just throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing how many noodles will stick and hoping for the best. That's the biggest thing. So I have 6 key principles that I teach in my class, and they are thermal comfort. We're in the comfort business, are we not? If you're in HVAC, we're in the comfort business. We sell comfort, and comfort means different things to different people. But in the IAQ realm of things, if somebody is compromised, thermal comfort is huge. Actually, there are people that are compromised that can feel the slightest difference in pressures in a space. But thermal comfort is huge for how they feel. And if they're compromised, everything is exaggerated, exacerbated. That's a fun word, right? So everything is just magnified. There's 3 of them, 3 synonyms. So thermal comfort, right? We're in the comfort business. Number 2 is humidity control, either too much or the lack thereof. You know, in some of the colder climates, they've got a dehumidifier for the summer, they've got a humidifier for the winter, and they're running an ERV for ventilation. That is fantastic. Fantastic.
And a dehumidifier setup in the basement at all times.
Yeah, depending. And then people always ask me, hey, what's a good humidity level? Well, if you ask some of the standards, they're saying, between 40 and 60%. Sorry, 40% relative humidity in the north in the winter, your windows are going to rain. So I say it's got to be climate specific, and it's got to be tailored to what the customer's needs are. But, you know, it's real easy to miss that boat. And then everybody talks about relative humidity. Hey, let's talk about dew point. Dew point's where the rubber meets the road. And let's talk about psychrometrics and how we can control what happens in a space when it comes to humidity. So we got thermal comfort and humidity. How about filtration? Every single piece of equipment that we go up to should have some kind of filter in it, right? Not all filters are created equal. I get this question all the time. Hey, you know what? My family's got some allergies. We're going to go down to the big box store and look. The allergy buster, right? The 3M allergy buster. 1 inch. It's like a Merv 14 or something. They're going to grab that. Yeah. They're going to go throw it in their system, and they're thinking they're good. They're going to call it a day. Then we start having failures.
What's the static?
Yep. We're going to start having failures because cause and effect. So not all filters are created equal. A filter has to be designed into a system because otherwise we're going to have lots of problems. So we've got thermal comfort, humidity control, and filtration. How about we put the V back in HVAC, ventilation. ASHRAE 62.2 is here to stay. There might be some revisions of it, and they might do some revisions based on different climate. And so ventilation is huge. Why is that? Well, one, we don't want the air that's circulating through the house to get stagnant, just constantly going through. So we add a little fresh air. There's a saying in indoor air quality that dilution is the solution for pollution. So depending on the pollutants, right, we add a little fresh air. We can dilute those and bring them down to a manageable level. And sometimes we can actually influence building pressures using ventilation. But ventilation, we've been doing demand ventilation in commercial forever. We've been doing demand ventilation in garages, underground parking forever. Mm-hmm. So put the V back in HVAC.
So I got some here for you. So I got a question from Josh, and I'm going to bring that up with this here. So we're talking about the ceiling of the unit. I'm going to read it right here from the code book. which is it's N1103.3.6.1, which also correlates to R403.3.6.1, sealed air handling equipment unit. Air handling unit shall have a manufacturer's designation for an air leakage not greater than 2% of the design of 2% of the design of the airflow rate when tested with accordance with ASHRAE 193. So they've changed it there. And then Josh asked right here about bathroom fans and everything. In the code book under table 11 N1103.6.2, which is R403.6.2, fans and exhaust ventilation, other exhaust fans, CFM, greater than 90 CFMs, depending on your wattage. So if you're at 2.8 watts, you should have 90 CFM. If you're at 3.5 watts, you should be 90 to 200, and 4 watts should be greater than 200. And that's right there, the code book for that there.
Sure. So I want to bring something to light. So that's the international code book.
Residential code book, yes.
Yes. Local municipalities trump it. Yeah. So you can bring it out and show them that book, and they'll say, "Hey, but this is what we do here." My core HERS rating book was just as big as your book on what we had to look at and how we had to measure it, and then how we do paperwork and how we fill out compliance, and in residential new construction how we do sampling, and it was ridiculous. So great information, but your local municipality will trump that every time. Hopefully they adhere to it pretty closely. Yeah. But
so one of the things I haven't put out yet, but so
we haven't forgot you, Josh.
So my job changed from I'm going back to doing building inspections. So I did it for 4 years at Henrico. Now I'm going back to doing it here for Chesterfield County where I live. For family stuff and personal reasons too. But I know for a fact the way the codes are written, like this is the International Residential Code Book. Virginia has their own residential code book, and then each jurisdiction can choose pick and choose what they want to enforce out of that code book. Yep. Like there's some localities here in Virginia that want the manual D and manual J before they'll even give you a mechanical permit. There's others like we don't do duct design, we don't care how you put it in, and these people have 50 foot of flex runs across their house.
And you bring up a great point because John, you had asked, what a lot of contractors miss. Well, they miss load calcs. Yeah, they'll do a manual J. Properly. They'll do a manual J, and they'll use all default numbers. One of the best numbers you could plug in would be an infiltration blower door number, but they'll use all default numbers. They'll go directly from a manual D to a manual J. No, they'll go directly from. It's my dyslexia. 10 out of 4 of us have it. They'll go directly from a manual J to a manual D. What's wrong with that picture?
Yeah,
you can't do a manual D until you do your manual S equipment selection. Mm-hmm. Then you can do your manual D after. So it's J, S, D, and then another one they leave out is manual T. Termination points, grills and registers. They leave them out every time. They try to figure out a static pressure budget. They discount that, and that's one of the big things we missed. Josh, throw up his question one more time. I want to make sure I answer it. Bathroom fans separated switch or same as light? Which would you recommend? Not knowing the homeowners are actually okay. Panasonic Whisper Quiet, great product. Set it and forget it, right? It's wired. It'll turn on for your ASHRAE 62.2. It'll turn on if the humidity gets too high, whether you got the switch on or not, or you can turn the switch on and it'll come on. That is a great product. It's been around for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. I think Brown's got some things as well.
Brown does, yeah.
That's an over-the-counter. The Panasonic Whisper Quiet, great option. For trying to tackle some bathroom humidity issues. And, it's also 62.2 compliant, except for the fact that it's just using infiltration. So we don't know where it's coming from. Hope I answered your question.
Now, with that bath fan, keep in mind, it has to vent to the outside. It can't just dump in the soffit. It has to actually terminate the outside. It can't terminate in the attic. And here's the other thing. By code, if you have an operable window in a bathroom, you don't have to have a bath exhaust fan.
Yeah, that's been that way a long time. And I didn't think I had to say you got to vent it to outside, but hey, we've all seen some pretty crazy stuff. But yeah,
yes,
it has to go to outside, to atmosphere, if you will.
My old house was right in the attic. I went up there. I was like, "Oh, okay, yep, got to fix this."
Yeah.
So the concept of that is the lint will just add to the R value of your blown-in insulation.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, it did.
I had a customer. The vent piping, the fresh air intake for the furnace, terminated in the attic, but it terminated about 18 inches, and the blown insulation was 24 inches.
Uh-oh.
So you can guess what happened with that blown insulation when the furnace came on.
Oh boy.
It went right down the fresh air pipe. When the furnace came on, it started popping and backfiring left and right. They send me out there. I look up in there. I see insulation. I open it up, and this just 6-inch chunk of insulation, of blown insulation, just falls out. I go inside. I said, "Where's your attic?" He's like, "Why?" I said, "The problem's in your attic." And I go up there, and you can see where it had sucked a cone going down into the pipe. I went to the truck. I happened to have some pipe on my truck from a job previously. I took the Goodman rubber fern coat that I happened to have in my truck just because, I save things because you never know when you need it. Took that little Goodman rubber, put it on there, band it, put I think I had a 1.5-foot piece of pipe, put it on there, banded it, and then, hey, that solved the problem. And I was like, by code that you can do that, but it should have been up higher than what it was.
Yeah. That's your classic example of low bid got the job.
Mm-hmm. New construction. So yeah, it's been strange things. Let's see, not in Omaha. Let's see, here you go. Not in Omaha. Even the bath.
Even with window, bath fan is required.
So yeah, see that's like we're saying with the code book. Each jurisdiction can enforce what they want to do and make things different.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh went through my class.
So yeah, let's see here. Let's see here. See, Nick had a comment I missed here. To change his filter, it's been almost 6 months. Yeah.
You always forget about your own.
Well, I know mine because I change mine every Father's Day because I installed an April Air 2400 in our system on Father's Day for my dad for Father's Day one year, and every Father's Day I changed that media filter.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, it's just Father's Day present.
What if you didn't have to change your filter but every 3 years? How cool would that be?
Sign me up.
Ironically, John, you say that. The filter that's in here right now is 1.5 years old, and it still looks brand new.
Yeah. So that's a segue for my new filter, the DF16. It's a MERV 16. Not only are the filters rated at a MERV 16, but the whole system's rated at a MERV 16. It's V-Bank technology, so there's 4 filters in a 4 and 5 ton, 3 in up to a 3 ton. Each filter has 70 square feet of surface area in it. The 5 ton comes in at a 0.18 static drop. Published data, I've got them in the field coming in at 0.16, 0.15. The 3 ton comes in at 0.14. I've got them in the field coming in at less than a tenth of an inch of water column. Like 0.01 inches of water column. I'm getting 3 years out of a filter change, respectively. It's got to be the right condition. I always say if you live on the farm and all the doors and windows are open, you got 8 kids and 10 goats and 3 chickens and 14 cats and dogs coming in and out, and grandpa's plowing the field, you're not going to get 3 years on a filter change. But it's a premium product. Most of the people that need that kind of filtration are going to have a pretty darn clean house. And we use all 5 filtration methods. It's on the market. People are using them. It is fantastic. Again, it's a premium product.
What's it called again?
It's called the Dust Free 16. Uh-oh, he's Googling.
No, I'm typing it in
Into
the chat.
Oh, okay. Yep, and it's on sale through True Tech Tools.
Okay. Yeah, I just have a basic 20 by 25 by 4, so I was definitely looking at changing it out for something better.
Where's your furnace located?
In my garage.
Might be doable. Yeah, I've got these things installed every which way you can imagine.
Yeah, I've got mine in my basement. So the return duct comes down, it opens up to the space guard, then drops back down and goes back over to the unit.
Yeah, I've got. I'll send you guys both some pictures.
Yeah. Let's see. Danny's supposed to be not here tonight, but he is, unfortunately.
He's chiming in.
If there was anyone that wanted to start learning IAQ, what books would you recommend?
One of the books that just blows me away is Jeffrey May's book, My House is Killing Me. I got it on audio because I drive so much, so I've been listening to it. That guy's amazing. There's lots of different books and things that you can get from the Indoor Air Quality Association, but you got to be a member. They might sell to non-members. I don't know, but I've been a member for years and years and years.
So a funny story about that book. He was a customer of my last company, and he gave me that book personally, and I forgot to have him sign that.
Wow.
It is in my garage, actually. Yeah, I just remembered I have that book.
Bad Johnny.
Have you read it? Have you cracked the pages yet?
I read the first few pages, but it's been in my garage since I moved, and I haven't touched it.
Okay, it's deep. It's deep. So a friend of mine, Donald, do you know Donald Brodsky, I think is his name, in Florida? He's called Duck Science. He went to the building science summer camp, right? And he had the book with him, right? Because he's into the IAQ. And a guy taps him on the shoulder, say, "Hey, let me see that book." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, this is a great book." He goes, "Yeah, I know. I wrote it." It was Jeffrey May.
Wow.
Yeah. So a great book.
Chelmsford, Massachusetts, I believe.
Yeah. And so that's another resource, Indoor Air Quality Association. YouTube University, there's so much information out there. Google John Ellis and IAQ. I've got a bunch of podcasts that come up. Some of them got new stuff. Some of it's repetitive, but, and take my class. Selfless pitch. Take my class.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to have to, my house is coming. I'm going to have to get that book and read it.
Yeah, I have it, Jimmy. So.
Well, you need to read it first because you're down there. I'm up here.
I will read it. Now that I remembered, I have it.
Yeah, it's an eye opener too. He talks about some stuff that you just like, wow.
Yeah.
So last question. There's like two questions here. What is your thoughts between? Let's see, what was it?
Bring it up so we can see it.
I'm looking for it right now. Here it is. Electrostatic filters versus 5-inch filters.
Okay, so an electrostatic filter typically is so very, very thin, and they come in so just for the audience, so electrostatic means that the fibers in a filter are synthetic, and as the air passes them, they get an electrostatic charge. And I like to equate that to rubbing a balloon on your arm and then sticking it to the wall. That's electrostatic attraction. And so they come in at like a 0.35. You got to clean them very often. And so I would be leaning more towards a 5-inch or 4-inch extended pleated medium. Now, if you've got a good filter like the Dust Free 16, I deploy all 5 filtration methods: impingement, diffusion, electrostatic attraction, and oh my goodness, I'm going to forget the other ones, but that's okay because I'm getting older. But my filter depends heavily on electrostatic attraction, not only for front loading, but as it permeates, it holds that, and that electrostatic traction holds as we permeate into the filter. And the particles will never go all the way through, but it will permeate into it. So 5-inch extended pleated medium.
And I have a question. So, roto brush was the first duct cleaning thing I ever messed with when I was started in the trade years ago.
I had one.
And now you got these guys that come in here and cut holes in there and they blast through with the snakes and these blasted pressurized air and brushes that clean the duct work. Me personally, I don't think the rotor brush ever did a good job because it's going to miss and you can't see. But I think this one you can kind of push down with the blasted air does a better job. What are your thoughts on duct cleaning per se?
So duct cleaning has its place, right? People say, "Oh, duct cleaning is IAQ." It's like, no, it is a maintenance service. You are maintaining an air distribution system. And sometimes you need to get that duct cleaned up enough to be able to be to a certain level. Most of the time, replacing it would be better. But my rotor brush did a decent job. Now, I think that a brush, right, a rotating brush and negative air in tandem is the way to go. But again, it's got to be done right. If you hook your negative air in the wrong place and you start agitating, you're going to be pulling dirt back through the evaporative coil unless you isolate it. So I've worked with a lot of companies that do duct cleaning. I go out in the field with them. It's like, dude, you're doing it right. And they're charging, $1,800 because they're doing it right. It's a lot of work. They're isolating coils. They're isolating heat exchangers, right? They're pulling the blower. They're running negative air and using an agitator, not just a whip, but a brush, and they're getting everything. And so it has its place. It is a maintenance service, but here's another plug. If you design a system and you've got the luxury of building a brand new system, you build it tight, right? No leakage, right? Yep. You put a good filter like the DF16, right? And it's tight. You will never have to clean the ducts, the evap coil, the blower, the heat exchanger, the furnace cavity, none of it for the life of its service, the life of the system, ever.
Yeah. And for me, I had a house where me and my ex-wife, we smoked in it. We separated. I kept the house, and I referred these people. I guess one company I trusted for duct cleaning to people's houses. I had them come up, ask them for my house. He was like, "Jimmy, you've sent me so much business. I'll do it for free." They came in and cleaned my ductwork up. Now at 5:00, my thermostat was set to go to 68 degrees at night when I got home from work because I wanted it cold because I've been out in the heat all day. I walked in that house at 7:00 at night. It felt like a freaking meat locker. I went from 68 to 72 on my thermostat because of the air was able to move so much freely.
Yeah. So it has its place, but people think that duct cleaning is the end all be all for indoor air quality. It's like, no, it can be a part of. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And the last question here from Senor Denny, where can people reach out to you? For your medias and socials and contact?
Okay, so I do have a Facebook page called Dynamic Air Consulting. I mostly put articles. It's a lot of information. I like as soon as I find articles, I'll just put them there. So there's a whole library of articles there. I am on LinkedIn. John Ellis is also on Facebook, just under John Ellis. I don't do the tickety-tockety. I tried that. Didn't work for me. Yeah. And so that's basically where you can find me. So Jimmy, if you want to type something into the chat.
So you said dynamic what?
Dynamic Air Consulting.
There it is.
Now while he's typing that, I have a question. What is an inexpensive tool that a technician can buy that can help them with IAQ?
Great question. Define inexpensive.
A couple $100. I know a lot of technicians spend a lot of money on tools, so it's nothing really.
Nope, not accurate enough. Yeah, I get homeowners all the time. They buy the little thing off of Amazon. It's $200, and it's in there, and it's measuring, and they take those readings as gospel. And then I'll get there, and they're in a panic, and then I'll get my, $3,000 air quality monitor out and measure, and it was measuring everything high on the high end, and then it was measuring things a little different. It was measuring in what we call micrograms, so it's by weight, and I use raw count, so my measurement is actually counting, and it's raw count by count, and so it's a little more accurate, gives me a better understanding on. But if somebody wanted to get a decent monitor, Air Things is pretty good. So I think that's like $300. A lot of people have good success with Air Things, but you got to leave it. But you can spend a gang of money on handhelds, and I have a lot of handhelds. But there's a company out there called Air Advice, and I think the unit is a couple $1,000, and then there's a subscription. And then you plug it in while you're doing a maintenance call, and in 30 minutes, you've got some preliminary data. Now, I'm not saying that 30 minutes is enough, but 30 minutes is enough to start a conversation.
It gives you a baseline.
Yeah, it gives you a baseline, so at least we can start to talk about this. And then maybe you sell the customer on, hey, I'll go ahead and leave this here for 5 days. We'll get a better in-depth look. We'll get more solid data. So you would charge for that. And then you would create a scope of work based on that information.
Okay.
All right. So I've got your Facebook profile and the dynamic uploaded on here.
Yeah.
In the chat.
You ready to type?
Sure.
505-652-8119. People think I'm crazy. I love what I do. I get calls all the time. I get people FaceTiming me on jobs, and we figure stuff out. So feel free to call anytime. If you've got a company that's a little larger, let's say 10 guys or more, I'd be more than happy to bring up my IAQ training right to your company.
All right. And so you have your contact information in here for everyone. John, you've opened my eyes to things. I've been in it for 26 years.
I didn't know much about IAQ, but now I know a lot more.
I had a little more misconception. There's going to be some products removed from my ductwork here probably tomorrow. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and so we just kind of scratched the surface on things. We could do this again. We didn't even get into HVAC. We didn't even get into sensible latent ratios and. You know, everybody likes, oh, my delta T. It's like, no, you should look at delta E first. But we could get into system performance and all that other stuff on building science. So it was good. I really appreciate you guys having me here. Thank you, Jennifer, for trusting us with your show. Hey, so far we didn't screw it up. So
we did pretty well.
I think we did pretty good for for being left unattended.
Danny has one more question.
Yes, I see his question.
Where is John going next on vacation?
Oh, so I will be at the NCI Summit in just about a little more than a week in Austin. So if anybody's going, come and see me.
Jen and Daniel will be there. Me and John will not. But I will be up at the Heat Pump Symposium in Worcester.
Heat Pump Summit.
Heat Pump Summit, yeah.
They just had one. Is it the same one that was in Canada recently? Did they just travel around?
I'm not sure. This one's in November up there. So I'm actually going to make the trip up there because my brother lives up there.
Yeah. And so as far as vacation's concerned, you know, I am blessed. I'm older. I'm in legacy mode. I get to travel for work, but I also get to travel on vacation. And so in October, my wife and I are going to the northern Spain, to the Costa Brava, and we're going to stay in a 12th century town called Tossa de Mar. And cobblestone streets, there's a castle fortification. And then one day we're going to drive up and go to a little town in the south of France and go see some cathedrals and basilicas. And we're going to enjoy the food, and I'm just going to unplug and enjoy.
Well,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I sound like my brother, the world traveler. My niece has more stamps on her passport than I'll ever have in my passport.
Yeah, I'm running out of paper.
I don't have a passport. That's right.
Well, you know, It's work-life balance, and everybody's, oh, John, you must be rich. You're going on. No, I'm not. We plan. So I plan. So one thing, I get a lot of my work credit card. I get a lot of miles, right? I get a lot of perks, and then my hotels, I use hotels.com. We're actually using miles to get there. We're using miles. We're using points from hotels.com for the hotel, and we're using points to get the rental car. And so you just plan, you put a down payment on stuff, and you make it a budget. Everybody can travel.
That's what they call balling on a budget.
Balling on a budget. You just got to make up your mind.
So, John, thank you again for coming in tonight. Enjoyed it. I opened my eyes up to quite a bit of stuff that I have not known about for 26 years. So
we'll definitely have to do another.
Oh yes,
awesome.
we could be on here for hours and weeks with you on things. So yeah. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
And thanks to everyone showing up tonight. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on here, and we'll see you next week for my show. So see y'all in a week.
See you guys.